Emmanuel Martinez from Coachella, Don Campbell from Brawley, Timothy Kelly from Imperial.
Martin is here for Don Campbell.
Who is?
Don Horton.
Horton. Okay. Once again, Emmanuel Martinez, you can be...
Emmanuel is not here. He's gone.
He's gone. Okay. Don Wharton, Timothy Kelly, Steve Ponder, Micah Mitrosky, Jeremy Smith, Gretchen Newsom, Mike Hartley, Tom Stefton, and Carrie Morrison. Can you all come up to the front? Everybody.
Fran, can you please make sure that
Do you want to sit at the podium?
I know, just you can sit right there,
Okay.
Wherever. And if there's not enough room, you can sit back there and then come forward. We'll go in this order. It'll be Don Wharton, Timothy Kelly, Steve Ponder, Micah Mitrosky, Jeremy Smith, Gretchen Newsom, Mike Hartley,
That's scary.
Tom Stefton, and Carrie Morrison. Okay, it is close enough to 4 to get started. So we'll start with Don Wharton. For everyone, please introduce yourself, your name, and who you're representing. And we'll go in, I will just call your name, and then you can get started. And we will have 2 minutes per person. Don Wharton.
Okay, Don Wharton, I think had to go to another meeting. Was hoping to be back here on time. I'm Tim Kelly. He had said to defer his time to me.
Okay.
So I'm Timothy Kelly. I'm the President and CEO of the Imperial Valley Economic Development Corporation. And in my early career, I was a farmer for 13 years, and now I focus on the economic vitality of the region, including agriculture. I've served on numerous boards and commissions, including statewide boards such as CalEd, California Association of Local Economic Development. I was the president of Team California and currently the vice president of International Trade and Investment. I've got to say that a lot of things have been said already from my colleagues here from the Imperial County, so I'm going to kind of skip around. But I will tell you that when Mr. Kuhn made that final vote on the QSA, there was a lot of disappointment in our community. And I will tell you that that's the time when we really started work on economic development, because we knew that we were going to have a downturn in our economy. And we knew that there was going to be some major issues pertaining to unemployment. And as a matter of fact, today, Imperial County, if it doesn't have the highest, is pretty close to the highest in the nation of unemployment. Of course, we had the double whammy, which was the recession that happened about the time we were starting to grow our economy. And so what I want to talk to you about today is what we've been doing since then. We developed an economic development strategic plan, which was adopted by the Imperial Irrigation District, the county, all of our cities. And we looked at industry clusters that were new to the area, and we started marketing to those areas. So as we were having a downturn in our economy because of the fallowing program and the water transfer, then we actively marketed and brought investment into the community. So we've heard some pretty negative things about the Imperial Valley. My job actually is the marketing for the region, so I always talk about good things. And so I'll talk about the investment that has been made in the Imperial County. And so really quickly, over the last few years, we have, thanks to renewable energy and a couple other sectors, have had a lot of investment into our county in the billions of dollars. That did not move our economy forward. It really kept us at an even playing field, or kept us level as the rest of the country is going through a recession. And so I think that that was a positive thing for us. Like I said, it did not move us ahead. And so, with the billions of dollars that were invested, we were also losing billions of dollars from other industries that were going away during the recession and through the fallowing program. But where we are today, and the point I want to make, is that our community really did come together. We worked together in marketing the region. Our county, our Imperial Irrigation District, which are the regulators, worked very closely, and they take economic development, the passion for it as I do. And what we began to prove was that we can get things done in the state of California. And I mentioned that I was the president of Team California, so I've worked with every county in this state. And I'll tell you, during the recession, we were actively marketing when others were giving up. And the result of that was what I just mentioned. But also the result of that is now we're starting to talk about what we've done and what we accomplished. Out of all the hardships that we've had, we always get hit with, well, you're the poorest country or the poorest county in California. You have the highest county, the highest unemployment in California. And I say, look what we did. We accomplished these, we set these goals, we accomplished those goals. We planned to work, we worked the plan, we went to the market, we brought that money home, and we put people to work. And we want to continue that. But I'll tell you the two other issues we deal with. Number one, if you hear from Wall Street will tell you that Imperial County sold all their water, all of their water. So it's very difficult. That's the final discussion that we have when somebody's trying to make a decision on investing in Imperial County. Number two, what's going to happen with the Salton Sea? And that's what we're dealing with right now. We've had success. Brad was just up here talking about air quality. Let me tell you what's going to happen in the near future. We still have a lot of hope, and I'll be very short on this, because we have right now almost $6 billion of projects that are permitted, ready to be built, that we're trying to bring investment in. We have another $7 billion of projects that are in this pamphlet right here, of projects of companies that are looking in Imperial County. If we don't get this air quality issue solved, if we don't get this water issue solved, then those projects that are permitted will not be built, and we will not be able to bring investment. Business does not like risk, and all we're doing is adding risk to the equation. So thank you very much for the time. I wanted to express that we did not give up, that we kept hope, and I'll tell you what, it was a tough decision that Mr. Kuhn made, and I was one of the people that voted for him because I know it's the right decision, and I voted for him again to get him reelected. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And he had 4 minutes because he was representing someone else as well. Everyone else still has 2. I have my conscience over here who will keep me on the straight and narrow. Steve Ponder, followed by Micah Matrosky.
I'm Steve Ponder, and hello, Vice Chair and board members. I am a 4th-generation geothermal person, and I've been involved in geothermal since 1977, and I got involved in some of the geysers work originally, and I'll tell you about that in a minute, but now I'm the Executive Director of the Geothermal Resources Council. We have over 1,400 members and 100 different companies belong, and we're more of the scientific geology engineering arm of the industry. We have a worldwide basis, and we're a nonprofit association, and we're based right here in Davis, California. The geysers was developed in the 60s, and that's up near Middletown and Lake County, Napa. And it has, today it's got over 800 megawatts that's being produced of geothermal. The Imperial Valley was a little bit behind that as far as when it was developed, but it's at 600 megawatts of geothermal has been developed. I've worked over Nevada quite a bit, and there's the average resource over there is about 30 megawatts per resource area. So Imperial Valley, the exciting thing, and the main reason I'm here, is there's about 1,500 megawatts of reserves that are available to us according to what we understand about the resource. And that's very exciting. It's the largest geothermal opportunity in the United States by far. You know, you compare that to the next one in Nevada, which is 30 megawatts. We also understand that part of that 1,500 megawatts is under the Salton Sea right now. So as the Salton Sea recedes in the upcoming years, that's going to open up potential drill sites for us that are underwater right now. And that's also very exciting.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Micah Matrosky.
Good afternoon, board members, vice chair. Thank you for this opportunity today, and thank you for holding this hearing. My name is Micah Matrosky, and I'm the environmental organizer for IBEW Local 569, the electricians union. But today I'm here speaking on behalf of the environmental caucus of the San Diego Imperial County's Labor Council. And the environmental caucus is actually an advisory body within the Labor Council that engages union members around issues like climate change, environmental environmental policy and building partnerships with environmental allies. And the founding members of our caucus include the American Federation of Teachers, Local 1931, the California Nurses Association, National Nurses United, the San Diego Building and Construction Trades Council, us, the Electricians Union, the University Professional and Technical Employees, CWA 9119, the International Brotherhood of Boilermakers, Local 1998, and the Asian Pacific American Labor Alliance, and other unions. And today, on behalf of the caucus, we're here speaking in support of the Imperial Irrigation District's request to convene stakeholders and find a definitive funded solution to prevent this public health, economic, and environmental crisis of a shrinking Salton Sea. And we're especially concerned about health risks to communities in the region. And as has been discussed here a lot today, when mitigation water stops being delivered in 2017, the sea will shrink, and as it gets smaller, this exposed shoreline will lead to serious health impacts in Imperial County, the Coachella Valley, and potentially neighboring Southern California communities. And this would be very devastating to a struggling region where working families are already stretching to make ends meet, and air quality is already very bad. There's also will be serious environmental consequences as the sea supports more than 400 species of wildlife and serves as a critical link on the Pacific Flyway. So we're really thankful that the board is holding this hearing today. We believe the time for action is now, and we urge you to please use your power to convene parties in a collaborative process to identify a restoration plan that can be implemented and funded to protect public health. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam.
Jeremy Smith, followed by Gretchen Newsom.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. My name is Jeremy Smith. I'm here on behalf of the State Building and Construction Trades Council, the statewide council that many of the unions that the previous speaker mentioned belong to. We represent about 400,000 construction workers in the state of California. It's important enough for us to be here as a statewide body to talk about the Salton Sea, because clearly you've heard today that it's a integral part of what goes on in this area of the state. So we support the petition requesting your board to convene key stakeholders to figure out what to do down there, to figure out a solution. You know, I'm here on behalf today of not only my members' economic well-being, but their health well-being. I think we've heard a lot today about what's going to happen to people if the shoreline is exposed, and all the members that I represent work outside. And if there's no work to be done because the air is so bad, there's no way for them to make a living. I think you heard a few speakers before me say there's $6 billion in permitted projects in the area, $7 billion, I missed the last part of this, but $7 billion in potential relocations of businesses. That's big, especially for this area of the state. If the Salton Sea is gone, essentially there's no more work. People can't be outside to work. If that happens, you can add economic calamity to public health disaster and environmental disaster. So we usually just show up to meetings to talk about our members' well-being, their economic well-being, to advocate for better wages and benefits for them. But today we're here also to talk about their personal health and their quality of life. So we urge you to convene the stakeholders to get to an answer to this important problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Gretchen Newsom, Political Director for the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers, or IBEW Local 569. We represent over 3,100 members and working families in San Diego and Imperial counties. And IBEW operates the only state-approved electrical apprenticeship program in Imperial County that trains local residents to construct renewable energy projects. We have invested resources in the community to ensure that these projects create quality career paths for local residents with skilled training, safe working conditions, and good wages and benefits. Today I speak in support of the Imperial Irrigation District's request to convene the stakeholder process and to further it, to find a definitive, funded solution to solve the looming crisis at the Salton Sea. Imperial County, as we've all heard, is a working class community where many families struggle to make ends meet, and the region also suffers from some of the worst air quality in the state. These challenges, as we've all heard, could get significantly worse if the Salton Sea is left unaddressed. As water levels decrease and the sea shrinks, shoreline will be exposed and dangerous particles could become airborne. This dust will worsen Imperial County's already poor air quality and cause harmful health impacts to the children, families, and our own members in the Imperial and Coachella Valleys, and potentially neighboring communities in Southern California. Risk of heart disease, asthma, lung cancer, and other health problems will increase, as we've heard. When people suffer, the economy suffers, and that ripple effect of this public health crisis will be felt throughout the state. In addition to devastating public health and economic impacts, there will be severe environmental consequences because of the Salton Sea's role as a support system for hundreds of diverse species. This crisis needs leadership, and it needs your leadership, and more importantly, it also needs solutions. The region also has the potential to become California's hub of renewable energy with thousands of megawatts of undeveloped solar, wind, and geothermal resources that would result in thousands of good-paying jobs, middle-class jobs. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Mike Hartley, followed by Tom Stefton.
My name is Mike Hartley. I'm the business manager for the United Association of Plumbers, Steam Fitters, Refrigeration, and HVACR Technicians for San Diego and Imperial Counties. Local 230 supports Imperial Irrigation's district's request to convene stakeholders to come up with a funded plan to address the Salton Sea issue. We believe the time for action is now to avoid harmful impacts to the community and the region, and we look forward to the board's involvement in this important matter, and we call upon the board to use its power to bring the necessary parties together to collaborate and come up with a funded restoration plan in time to avoid the crisis and protect our environment, our economy, and the families who live and work in the region. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Tom?
Thank you, members of the board and Madam Chair, for your time. I'm Tom Sefton, and President of Sefton Water Technology. I'm the guy on the ground working on one of the three on-the-ground projects, and this one is done in close collaboration with IID. Very grateful to have some state funding from the Financial Assistance Program and some funding from the federal government on that. That project is based on taking Salton Sea salt and concentrating it into a salt gradient solar pond and using that as a way to capture the energy of the sun and use that in turn to make more fresh water and potentially electrical energy to put back into the local system and provide for habitat. Additionally, we've been working for several years in collaboration with the largest geothermal company in the Salton Sea resource, Cal Energy, to demonstrate that low-pressure geothermal steam can be very cost-effectively used as a heat source to distill Salton Sea water directly. And the point I'd like to make from that is that because we've shown that we can successfully distill Salton Sea water in a cost-effective fashion, that water in the Salton Sea, that 6 million acre-feet of water, is a water resource. And it is therefore under the purview of your board, because your board, as your mission statement, is to protect water resources for future generations in this state. It is absolutely a beneficial resource. Additionally, we know that it's a key environmental resource. Millions of fish, thousands of birds, more than 400 different species, key point on the Pacific Flyway. It's important to preserve that. It's important to have a restoration project that can preserve that part of the Pacific Flyway. We hope to be able to create clean water from Salton Sea water to help preserve that habitat. That's part of the project we're working on with the Department of Water Resources. And then the other key point, it's a water resource, environmental resource, and the very important thing, also an economic resource, and the public health is paramount. It's very important to stop the dust blowing off the playa. Our little project will partly address that problem by covering playa with these ponds, and it's just one piece in a larger picture of progressively building out solutions. And I'd like to say that there are several plans on the table that have been discussed that are absolutely technically feasible to restore the Salton Sea. And some of those plans are even financially feasible. So the job can be done for much less money than you think. I'm done.
Thank you. And our last panelist, and then if there are questions, we can ask questions all at once. Carrie.
Good evening. Thank you all so much for being here and listening to us. My name is Carrie Morrison. I'm the director of the Ecomedia Compass, and I also am a board member on the Scene Desert Interpretive Association, but I speak as the Ecomedia Compass. I came to the Salton Sea for its stunning beauty, ecodiversity, and unique place in the world. I stayed because of the tremendous need I felt for awareness and education to other parts of the world on this issue. We've since founded a 501c3 nonprofit to accomplish these goals while producing numerous Save Our Sea events and positive media while connecting many community leaders and volunteers with restorative actions. What it really comes down to is compromise. Each stakeholder getting 2/3 of a delicious pie is a heck of a lot better than none or all of us feasting on a rotten one. Continued action and pointing fingers would spell disaster for the region in just a very few short years. Without a full restoration plan in place, this essential Salton Sea area would shrink drastically, much the way of the tragic Eastern European Aral Sea. Their respiratory diseases skyrocketed and the average life expectancy dropped 13 years. My mother passed away from respiratory illness when I was 6, and no one deserves to go through what I did. Various costs of inaction, according to a recent highly publicized study by Cohen, total anywhere from $30 to $70 billion. It's at least 10 times the cost of restoration not to fix it. It's at least 10 times the cost of restoration not to fix it. This issue is no longer hiding in the closet from the residents of the Southwest. We should maintain the farms, keep up happy communities, tourism potential. It's an absolutely epically beautiful place. And this can be done. At the time of the adoption of the $8.9 billion plan, not all of the technologies were available or at the price they are today. Overarching restoration could be a lot cheaper. Desal technologies and water resources can be produced for half the price in the Salton Sea region due to the tremendous geothermal potential. Desalinization technology and water resources can be produced for half the price than at the ocean due to the tremendous geothermal potential, significantly alleviating the effects of the unforeseeably persistent drought. Even significant market for the salt that which Isenbach can create power and dust mitigating salt grading solar ponds. I'll wrap it up. Did any of you know that there's a canal 1/3 of the way already dug across the deserts of Mexico between the Sea of Cortez and the Salton Sea? We went there, filmed it. It's there. That's kind of interesting. It looks like we're running out of water. There might be some there. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions of this panel? This is a community panel, which I think the diversity of this panel was fabulous. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the community traveling so far to participate up here in Sacramento. One thing that came up is the hard work you've done to stimulate economic development interest, the concern about the risk of the Salton Sea. What thoughts have you put into tapping into the economic development potential to help fund Salton Sea stewardship at the local level?
Well, first of all, I think there's been some plans with the Salton Sea Authority, and I think that it doesn't matter what you do, there has to be economic stimulus for the state of California. And if you look at many of the projects that I just mentioned in the billions of dollars, many of those are looking around the Salton Sea and are energy related. And so there would be a lot of sales tax would be generated. There would be a lot of property tax that would be generated. And if a good portion of that would stay local rather than go to Sacramento and hope that it comes back, then I think that there could be money for the restoration of the Salton Sea. It doesn't mean the state is off the hook. It just means that it could be a way to generate the economy, stimulate the economy in the state of California that could be dedicated back to the Salton Sea.
Yeah, and when you bring that up about it coming to the state level and not getting back to the county level, does that take a legislative fix? You know, I mean, obviously it's way outside of the state water board's authority.
Well, there's plans that were in place when we had the redevelopment, such as tax increment financing, and if there's special districts that can be formed to be able to do that, there is legislation currently to do that, and there was the infrastructure finance district that will allow that also.
Good. No, that's important.
Thank you very much. And what we'll do next is have Karen Douglas come up And then I'm going to read out names of people who are going to take the place of these folks who are in the front while Karen's coming up to the podium. I am. So Karen, why don't you stay up at the podium, and then we'll bring Giovanni, Alec Hamilton, oh dear, Alex Romero. Okay, come up and sit up front. Mark Osterkamp, Gary Jennings, Jenny, something. Emmanuel Martinez, Stephen Kennedy, and okay, and Tom Versal. Okay. This just makes it faster. Then you don't have to wander up. Okay, Karen, thank you for coming over. I assume your hearing is over at the Energy Commission. So we look forward to hearing your words. I'll put 5 minutes on the...
All right, thank you. I think I can actually finish in 5 minutes too. So thanks for inviting me to be here today. I've been working on renewable energy issues and the Desert Renewable Energy Conservation Plan. I'm working closely with folks in Imperial County and IID on a number of things. And of course, before that, had some involvement in Salton Sea issues, so it's something that I have some background in. And I just have a couple really high-level points. I think renewable energy development should be an integral part of our thinking as we approach the issue of Salton Sea restoration. Geothermal, photovoltaic, whether it's ground-mounted or even floating or on the playa, all of it, solar gradient ponds, other approaches to renewable energy can have significant benefits both in terms of the value of the renewable energy itself, but also the multiple additional benefits, whether that's dust suppression, water quality improvement, minerals extraction potentially from geothermal at the Salton Sea, and more. Even algae production, which is something that the Energy Commission has put some research dollars into for energy, but it also has a big benefit for simply water quality and potentially some revenue stream just in terms of being able to sell the product into agricultural markets as fertilizer, as animal feed, and so on, is another potential opportunity. And any of these opportunities offer some chance of sustainable operations that have some level of revenue stream that therefore make it easier to maintain restoration activities going forward. I don't think we can realistically expect that some significant portion of Salton Sea restoration or capital expense gets funded with this kind of activity. I don't think we're looking at necessarily that level of dollars. You know, anytime you put a big fee on top of something that has to compete out in the market, you make it potentially less attractive to buyers who have other options. And so cost is a real issue when it comes to selling renewable energy into the California market. But there are approaches that are promising, and probably the only one I'll point out today is geothermal royalties. Right now, the BLM, which owns some of the land in the geothermal area under the sea, in their regulations, they charge really nominal rental amounts, but they get royalties for essentially a percentage of the proceeds of the power production agreement, a certain amount for the first 10 years, a little more thereafter. And those royalties are divided between the state, the county, and the Bureau of Land Management. The BLM has said, well, they'd probably be willing to dedicate, you know, their share of royalties there to Salton Sea. IID owns some of that land. And so there are models like the royalties model that do provide some promise of funding going forward that could be important in operating and maintaining these kinds of activities. The area is transmission constrained, but there is some hope there as well, even in the, and this number has bounced up and down, including down to 0 for a while, to the great unhappiness of many people. But at the moment, we're looking at, according to the ISO, around 500 to 700 megawatts of export capability now, with up to around 1,700 megawatts, given operational improvements and other kinds of upgrades over the next decade or so. So that's good. That's good news. That means that we don't need to build a massive new transmission line to do some reasonable amount of development there. On the other hand, if we want to go above that number, we actually might be looking at very major and expensive transmission, and that will be a difficult decision when and if we get there. One challenge for geothermal in particular has been procurement. Some of that has had to do with the issue of transmission and deliverability from the area. Today, however, I think the issue is more that the state is, if anything, well supplied, if not long, on electricity, outside of specific reliability needs in specific areas, and also long on compliance with the renewable portfolio standard. So procurement has slowed down for those reasons. The governor's announcement of a 50% renewable energy goal by 2030, I think will help. I think that will open up the market and make it much more likely that more procurement will move forward. Another issue on procurement is that all these renewables coming online have fundamentally changed the way our system works. It used to be, even just a few years ago, we would talk about baseload resources from geothermal as something that was the gold standard. You know, why not have a resource that produces 24/7? And today, as we have so much renewable energy coming online, we are increasingly concerned about overgeneration during certain times of the day. So buying a resource that is that cannot be ramped down when you might be paying people to curtail is a bit of an issue. I think there are solutions there too, however. I talked to one geothermal company in preparation for these remarks, and they told me about a project they have in Hawaii where they have designed the project from the start to be more dispatchable and able to ramp down, basically by building in a mechanism to divert steam back under the ground when they don't need it to go to the turbines, so they don't lose the heat and they don't have to cycle their well field, which is what really causes problems for the companies. So I think there are technologies that exist today that can allow geothermal to adjust to the new need we have in California for more flexible resources. What we still need to develop, and again, this is in part because our system is changing so fast, are the procurement tools to properly value these kinds of attributes. And so the Public Utilities Commission has some ongoing proceedings right now. You know, just a few years ago, it was enough to show up at the party and be renewable, and that's not enough anymore. Now, we really, as a state, have to look much harder at what are the attributes. What is this? When is this facility producing? You know, what can it do? Can it ramp? Can it ramp down? And I think that the time, it will not be overnight, but you know, the processes are underway to be able to better value what we now know we need, and that will be important, I think, for the future of geothermal and other renewable technologies in California. So just to conclude, well, I'll say one more thing and then conclude. You know, I mentioned at the outset the Desert Renewable Energy Conservation Plan. It's a desert-wide conservation and renewable energy strategy. There's a conservation framework. The Salton Sea restoration, done successfully and done well, could provide really important long-term conservation for species and could become a place where mitigation money from other kinds of projects could be invested. So that's another possible revenue stream as we look forward. So with that, I just didn't want to miss the chance to emphasize the importance of thinking about renewable energy for the Salton Sea. I know you've probably heard that all day. But
well, we have heard it all day, but I really appreciate your coming over. And I would say we should add the Energy Commission to our state family that will be discussing whither we goest. Because there are some out-of-the-box thinking that is there, as well as at the Air Board, and possibly other players. So please, I hope you are up to this, but it would be very helpful because I do think energy is a big area that can be a contributor. It's not there are no silver bullets so far as I can tell.
I would agree with that. The Energy Commission would be happy to help in any way. So
Great.
Just let me know.
Thank you. Okay. We have a very appreciative crowd. That doesn't happen very often. Giovanni is first, followed by Alex, followed by Mark, followed by Gary, Emmanuel, and Tom.
Good afternoon. My name is Giovanni Arechavaleta, Campaign Director and Biologist for the Ecomedia Compass and its Save Our Sea campaign based at the Salton Sea. I have lived in California my entire life, and it wasn't until about a year ago that I discovered the Salton Sea. And on that morning, as the sun came up, it revealed a glistening sea surrounded by purple mountain silhouettes and flocks of white birds gliding near the shore. Everything in this moment was held together by a calm that I had never witnessed before. A calmness that made time pass a little slower. It's so rare to find those moments in the instant pace of today's world, and when you do, you remember them. That day, the Salton Sea was unforgettable, and it continues to be unforgettable. As a campaign director for a nonprofit that is actively raising positive awareness and education about the sea, I have met so many people that feel the same way. So many people that learn and discover this place immediately want to help it in any way they can. There is far too much beauty, potential, and risk involved if we as a state do not act quickly and substantially to prevent the demise of the Salton Sea. If enough is not done to restore the health of the sea, the health of millions of people and wildlife will be severely impacted. And with over 90% of California wetlands destroyed, it would be an absolute environmental injustice to lose this one. I am aware of Imperial Irrigation District's efforts to conserve and create wetland habitat throughout the sea, and I support their decision to address the state's responsibility outlined in the Quantification Settlement Agreement. But I also feel, as so many do, that too much time has been wasted and that not enough has been done to restore the Salton Sea region to its full potential. During the sea's sunny heydays, President John F. Kennedy stated, "The American by nature is optimistic. He is experimental, an inventor, and a builder who builds best when called upon to build greatly." We are now calling upon the state of California to build greatly. We are still optimistic about the fate of the Salton Sea, and we urge you to be optimistic as well. But without action, we cannot begin to experiment, invent, and build a brighter future, not just for us, but for the next generations. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you. Alex?
Members of the board, good afternoon. My name is Alex Ramya. I'm the president of Ecomedia Compass, which Gio and others have spoken about. It seems evident that this board has the power and the capability to make a decision as to the safety or the future of the Salton Sea. And I think all of these eloquent speakers that have spoken before me have clearly shown the importance of the sea and its importance in our lives, irrespective of where we seem to live. So even over here in Sacramento, you are impacted by the output from that sea, whether it be the exact smell or the particulates that come across. We have examples throughout history, specifically here in California, of where we have taken inaction, and we've seen the consequences of it. I really encourage this board to look historically at the past events the past oceans, lakes, ponds that have dried up, and the inaction that was taken then, and reflect upon that before you make your decision as to whether or not to put your best foot forward to save the sea and support the communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Hello, my name is Mark Osterkamp, and since brevity is the soul of wit, I'll be witty.
There, that's it.
I'm a farmer in the Imperial Valley. I'm born and raised there. I have grandchildren that will probably live there the rest of their lives. I'm proud of myself as a farmer that we are complying with the issue, with the intent of the IID to conserve water. I would assume that the other 95% of your meetings concern the drought. And I would just like to emphasize that we very much are concerned about the Salton Sea, of course. We want to live there as well as everybody else. But we also want to be part of the solution to the water problem of the state of California. And I'd like you to please recognize that the simple way would be to undo the QSA, but I think you would also be missing a very great opportunity, because you should view the fixing of the Salton Sea also not as just a saving an environmental disaster, but as preserving a source of water for the state of California for the future. You have to remember that it's now at about 400,000 acre-feet of water, and that's a lot of water. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gary, introduce yourself. I keep forgetting to remind people.
Gary Jennings. I'm the managing partner for United Solutions Group. I'm a native Californian. Most of my family is. I came down to the Salton Sea area in 2010 to promote an idea. And really, that place is super addictive once you get to understand it, and it's actually a little unhealthy to be addicted to the Salton Sea. And when you listen to this group today, you will be hard-pressed to find a group more dedicated, more motivated, more passionate. These people can fight. They can really hang in there, and they really want to convey the message of simply this. The Salton Sea just needs money, lots of money, to fund the environmentalists like Mr. Cohen, who have brilliant ideas, but he doesn't have enough money. It's really that simple. And the one product, and we looked at about 50 ideas, spent 5,000 hours talking about this in the last drought, was this. If you add a surcharge to all the meters in California, $1 or $2 a month, you will raise a super fund that can be allocated to the Mr. Cohens of the world and all the Tetra Techs of the world, and let them decide what's best. Let the business people create business so the environmentalists can do what's right because they know how to do it. Very simple, elegant idea. A little closer to home, we can do pump-back hydro on the lake. That lake is a resource. It's 6 million acre-feet surrounded by mountains. It is probably one of the best hydro locations in the United States. Think about it. It is a brilliant opportunity for us. The geothermal cause that Mr. Hanks and his team promoted, they didn't win that fight, but it's a brilliant fight to make. I'm out of time. So I'll tell you that the lake is not a disaster. It's one of the best business opportunities in the United States. The surcharge is your silver bullet.
Thank you. Emmanuel? He may not be here. Okay, then the last person is Tom.
Good afternoon, Board. My name is...
Yes.
Yes. My name is Tom Versick. I'm an attorney from the Bay Area. I work with Patrick Maloney, and today I'm representing exactly nobody at this hearing. So I'm here as a member of the public. And so a small backstory, all within hopefully the 2 minutes, and my point in just a moment. We did submit some comments, but not about the Salton Sea, about some other policy matters months before there was even a notice. But it turned out those comments, because we have 12 years of experience in the Salton Sea, in the Imperial Valley, turns out they have some relevance potentially to the Salton Sea, so we said fine, submit them as comments for the Salton Sea, so therefore I'm here. I listened to some hours yesterday, for example, so I pay attention to what occurs in this body, because we represent people. We think during times of drought, one needs accurate measurement of water, the public disclosure of water data, and a reasonable use of water. And so we're always trying to make sure that that's happening everywhere all the time. So I'm not worried about those things from this board at this time today. But the reason I'm up here at all, and I'm not here to advocate for or against any party, obviously, is because this board posed a couple of questions that I have some ability to field. I will not say answer, but to field, because I have a certain amount of experience in these matters. And I will just go through these 3 questions and point out public sources, public documents. I'm not going to touch anything that's not public. And the board can do whatever it wishes with this information. So the first question was by present chair Spivey Weber to IID this morning, and I'm paraphrasing grossly, but what will IID put on the table? What is it willing to put on the table? And I'm not going to speak for IID, so I don't know what it's willing to put on the table. I can, however, say that during the course of the litigation, there were all sorts of proposals about what could be put on the table, what could be used to help restore the Salton Sea. So that information exists in a form. The second question, and I can go on or not. I have 2 questions from 2 board members, if you...
Do it quickly.
Pardon me?
Yes, please,
Okay.
go ahead.
So the second question was from board member Diadamo to, I think, also IID about the transfer details. So I'm not going to tell you what the transfer details are and about efficiency and other things she asked about. However, I do know that IID makes reports, annualized reports about the transfer programs. They're on IID's webpage. I also know they report a lot of other details in some of their public meetings, and that the person to speak to is Tina Shields, who's an assistant water manager. So those resources are available to satisfy those concerns, whatever they happen to be. And the third one was from board member Dodux. Unfortunately, I don't have one for Mr. Moore, about IID's plan for the Salton Sea, because they kept mentioning they have some idea. Now, again, I don't know IID's plan, but what I can say, again, in the public record, is the entire CEQA proceedings, the PEIR proceedings a few years back with all the plans, and besides the plans themselves, there is a good bit of detail in some of the litigation documents, especially around 2010, about how some of those plans came to be and what they might do and not do. So these are sources that are public, that if these become sticking points,